Big Z Reviews. Avengers Endgame is a culmination of 10 years of excellent Marvel films, some better than others, and it is really everything I would have ever wanted from a movie like this. And then some things I wouldn't even think I would want, and I loved while I was watching this movie. It is pretty much as close as you can come to perfection. It's amazing.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
So first off, I'm going to keep this spoiler-free until either I get to the end of this review or I do like a additional, like a second video. But so I won't get any spoilers for the first part, at least of this. So last night I went to see this with my brother in nearest IMAX screen to us, which is 2 hours away. So we went to Texas Roadhouse beforehand, so it made a little bit of a trip out of it. But I didn't get home till like 3 o'clock in the morning. Because, this is a 4-hour road trip and then 3-hour movie. And it is worth it, though. It was absolutely worth it. It is such a good movie. And, right from the beginning, it does some things that I wasn't quite expecting. And then it does some other things that I was kind of expecting, but it does them in a very interesting way. And, it is tough to talk about with completely avoiding spoilers, but definitely for this part I will, because if you haven't seen it, you shouldn't be spoiled at all. But I mean, if you really want to see it, you should go there as soon as you can, just because there's a lot of stuff that people could spoil if they want to be douchebags. What I loved about this film, though, is that it is so emotional at times, and then it's so action packed, and then it's so funny. It has every little different emotion. It hammers in so well. And I love, too, that sometimes in some Marvel movies, the humor can be too much, or it can mess up a more emotional scene. And in this one, I think they did it really well, where there are time for the funnier stuff. And when the really emotional stuff, they don't try to interject any humor. That's fully emotional. And when they have this, the comedy, it comes in so many different ways. And I think without spoiling anything, one of the funnier parts of the movie is Thor in this one. Something to do with his character is pretty hilarious. And I mean, there's a lot of other funny stuff too, but again, Hulk is another character that has some of the funniest moments in the film. And I mean, but all of them, they have their moments, and that's what is so impressive, is there is a large cast of characters in this film, and really everyone kind of gets their moment. Everyone has their time to do something special, to do something interesting, to have some emotional tie and have some cool action scene. And I mean, everyone really, they give them, if you're a fan of a certain character and maybe you are disappointed they didn't do something with them in previous movies, you will not be disappointed by this, because there is this epic scenes that they've done stuff like that in the comics, but to see it on the big screen is just insane. And I will say that without spoiling stuff, everyone knows that there's going to be a big battle at some point in the movie. And in this big battle, I think it has to be the most impressive, epic scene I've ever watched. I mean, the only thing I wonder if the Game of Thrones has a big battle coming up this week on Sunday, and I don't think they could quite meet up to the billions of dollars spent on this film. But I mean, so we'll have to see which scene is more epic. But this battle scene is just everything we would really want from this, from all the different characters and from all the epicness. If you saw what happened in Avengers Infinity War was epic, you haven't seen anything yet. And I mean, it's amazing that when you're watching this, it's something special to see that, especially if you're a comic book fan for years and you've been following every movie and you've seen every movie multiple times, and you see like the culmination of it in this is just such an amazing moment. I really think that the Russo brothers kind of did the impossible with this. I mean, they could tell that things are inspired by the comics. Like if you've seen some of the Infinity comics, like there are definitely a lot of things inspired from it. And other, like if you've seen other throughout the years, different things that characters do, you can tell that things were inspired by them, but they also did their own thing and made it their own, and made it fit within this cinematic universe. And like the only thing I didn't love, and that's not even I didn't love, but it's because the setup of, really this is more of a spoiler for the previous film. It's the idea of Thanos snapping and ending half of all life in the universe. In the movies, he's doing this just to enact balance in the universe. And I understand why he's doing it, but like there's so many better ways he could do it, and that's just because, like, if you actually think if we lost half of our human population, we'd only be back to what we were like in the 1970s. Like, because I mean, like population growth, it grows exponentially. So I mean, you would have to snap your fingers every 50 years or something like that. It's not like just because half of everyone dies, they're not going to come back and have overpopulation again. Especially if you also halved all the animal resources and everything that you're going to eat. So, but that's just kind of goofy. But it's something that I noticed because, in Thanos in the comics, he wants to kill half of the universe just to kind of impress the love of his life, which is Death. Like Death is the actual character in the Marvel comics, and he is in love with her, and he wants to, have her be with him by killing half of the universe. And I mean, it's kind of goofier, and obviously they couldn't use it in these films, but like it kind of makes more sense for killing half the people. But they play with things with Thanos in this movie that I like, and they do things that I like, but like things change, and I like how the reasoning behind stuff like that, what they do with it, and that's why I love the film. I mean, like without spoiling anything, there's only so much you can talk about it, but I really loved everything that they did, and it'd be so interesting. I don't know if you have another Avengers film for a while. I mean, you have this year you have the next Spider-Man film, and that's going to be the end of this phase. Like it's not really a beginning of a new phase yet. But I don't know what they're exactly going to do. It sounds like the Russo brothers would love to do a version of Secret Wars. And you have to wonder if are they going to have to try to bring in all the other characters that they got with them when they bought Fox, Disney. And then you have to wonder, what they're going to do with some of the other stuff that's going on with them. Like, they could possibly do like with the Fantastic Four, you could do a Doom like from Secret Wars, or you could do the Galactus. But I don't know if you really want a big, giant purple space monster again after having Thanos. So it'll be interesting to see where the MCU moves to after this. And I think that's it for a non-spoiler review. I give it a 10 out of 10. I think you have to see it if you're a Marvel fan. If you're not a fan of superhero movies and Marvel, this probably wouldn't be the best way to start. I mean, you could watch this and not have any knowledge of anything, and I think you would still enjoy it, but I think you would miss a lot. So now we're into spoiler talk for the Avengers Endgame. And there's so much to spoil, and there's so many amazing moments. I will say this is full spoilers. But first, I guess some things I couldn't really talk about that I liked, and also like I'm not sure about. The biggest thing, everyone knew that with Ant-Man in the quantum realm, they're going to have to do something with time travel. And they do time travel, and they do time travel pretty well. It may be moving in one of my top 5 versions of time travel. Like, the only thing is I'm not sure exactly some of the parts of it, but the biggest thing is that when they go back in time, they're not trying to change anything. They're essentially just stealing all the Infinity Stones from back then and bringing them back to their universe. But like I like that things do change. But I mean, so if things are changing, like it's not clear whether they're trying to say that it's still all the same universe or that they do have branching paths. Like in the multiverse theory with like quantum mechanics. I mean, with all that stuff that it would be. We already have all these multiverses, but if essentially if they're going back in time and they do anything, it would cause a split and it'd be a different universe. And I mean, something may be fixed by them bringing back the Infinity Stones, but some things are definitely changed. And I like how they did some of the stuff because, at one point they changed it, and because at one point Loki gets the Space Stone and gets out of there. So if he has the Space Stone at that moment, things are going to be different because he won't be a prisoner in Asgard. So things will have changed, and he may still be alive or something in this universe. And that's why I wonder, like, if they're going to have different universes. Like, you could have a Secret Wars and have, like, some of the Fox characters taking place in a separate universe. And you could have even some of the TV shows that are going to be on Disney Plus. You could have them taking place on a different universe. And like the stuff with that is, I loved it. Was so kind of self-referential, but so kind of interesting when they went back into really important times in the MCU. Like you got to see like the classic posing in the Avengers film, and then you see like them kind of popping up in the background and commenting on things. Like, it's so funny and so interesting and different. And I love like the time heist sort of stuff there. Like they have like it's great moments where they mess with things and they kind of looked at how they would look like if a person's watching them do it. Like in Guardians of the Galaxy with Quill like dancing to the music. Like if someone didn't hear the music and was just watching him, how stupid it would look. I love so many of those moments, and it was so cool though that, but like it. For the very end, when Captain America decides to live out his life, with the love of his life, then he appears back up. Like I'm not sure if they're saying that he was living in their own universe or if he was living in a separate universe, and then just after she died, he went back to the time where he come from, because. If he was in their own universe, that means when Captain America was visiting her, like on her deathbed after he woke back up, that means that the old Captain America would have had to hide in the closet, waiting for the young version of him to leave. that's kind of funny, and that would mean all the kids that she talked about she had and who she married was him. Like I don't know if there's a separate universe or if that is our universe. Like they don't try to talk about it, so it doesn't really hurt. But I like it, but also I'm not sure about it, But one of the biggest things is that Black Widow is dead, like fully dead, and there was like all these rumors that she was going to be doing a movie. So I don't see why. I mean, you could do a prequel of her, like of how she became a spy, but it doesn't really make sense. And I guess if you want to do multiple universes, you could do a different universe of her. But again, I don't know about that. The only thing I thought is that when Captain America took back all the Infinity Stones, he had to have taken the one back to that planet and the Red Skull. And that would be something I would have loved to have seen, him talking to Red Skull. And then if he gave back the stone that they sacrificed her for, would she come back? Like, would she, like, because the sacrifice is no longer required. So if he gave the stone back to him, would she possibly come back to life? I don't know. I mean, they could do something very interesting with that, but we really don't know. But I love that, that the time jump, the 5 years until they started fixing things. That means that I would love to have a TV show or movie in that time period. I mean, how crazy would that be? And another thing about that, life kind of sucks for all the people that weren't snapped to ashes. Like, because they lived 5 years in like a post-apocalyptic world with most of their loved ones dead, and now they're all just back, and they're 5 years younger. Like, and you have to deal with that. I mean, that's gonna be a lot of crazy shit going on with that. And you also have to wonder if they, when he snapped back and he brought back everyone to life, is that everyone that was just turned to ash, or what about the people that, the plane whose pilot was turned to ash, and they were in the plane when it crashed and died? Like, do they bring them back too? Who knows? But now I can talk about the funniest part of the movie, and that is the fat Thor, and the Thor, like, living with Krieg and Korg, and have just playing the stupid game is just hilarious. They're so funny, a lot of the moments with him. But at the same time, he still gets the emotional closure by going back to Asgard and talking to his mom. And like, I love that character interaction. That's what too. They must not have been able to get Jane because they had Rocket steal the Infinity Stone from her, and they didn't really show her. I think, or what they showed her might have been from their movie. Like, I don't think she was actually in it at all. But who knows? There's some shenanigans going on there. But I mean, I love that while they're being funny, they can also have a really emotional moment, with Thor. But the rest of the time, he is just hilarious because he's like down on his luck. He's depressed. He has panic attacks. And I love the Hulk and looking more like Mark Ruffalo. And he is like kind of merging the strength and the intelligence in this new version of him. And one of the funniest moments in the movie is when he like watches Hulk smash like during the Avengers film, and then he's like, oh. And then he has to pretend to be Hulk, so he walks by and kind of taps on the car and smashes it a little to act like he's still the same Hulk. Like, there's so many great moments with him and with all the characters. And then, I mean, the last spoiler thing I have to talk about is just the epic scene of them all coming back. Like, when they're fighting, and they, it seems like Thanos has an entire army and everything. They're all about to die. Well, before that, I gotta say, Captain America, when he gets Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, and starts fighting it with his shield. Oh, I think that's one of the most amazing parts of the film. They kind of give me chills thinking about it. And I know our crowd was just going crazy when that happened. But then right after, Thanos is still too tough to kind of beat with that. And you have everyone come in, and you have all the snap people coming back. And I think so many epic things, like everyone was so cool. I love Valkyrie on her Pegasus, and then like some moments where like all of the women characters come together. We're going, it's just so, like, there's almost too much to talk about. There's so many epic moments, and like, it's so epic. Like, seeing the people that died come back, it kind of makes me feel emotional too. So like, you're kind of crying a little while this epic scene is going on, and it's such a unique experience. Like, it's just, it is so incredible. And I love, what they did with it too. Like, I mean, I would say that they probably could have come up with a better way to snap or to do something else. But I understand why they had to have Iron Man die. That he snapped for humanity, and he died. And I thought that, if I had to guess, I knew that him and Captain America would have to be hanging up their shield and armor for this one, because they're from there from the beginning, and they have the biggest paychecks, and they have to move on to other stuff. So I completely understand why they did what they did, and you could still have the old Captain America. I know they did some stuff with that in the comics, kind of goofy, but that they. So if they really want to, he could still be around and offer them advice or something, or give him a gene to give him a serum to make him younger again. I don't know what they do with that, but I think that I really like what they did. I mean, his sacrifice was really fitting, and he knew that was the one way that we would win, and I guess so much of it I just loved. And I could kind of sit here and talk and spoil things forever, but I think that's enough. I think that's all the moments I really had to talk about. I had to get it out. And it's just such an amazing movie. You have to see it. If you haven't seen it and you're watching this, it's kind of goofy. But you'll have to see it again, I guess, even though it's 3 hours long. But thanks for watching. You can check out the replays up ahead and subscribe to me at Z over there. Thanks. This has been a Big Z movie review. Thanks for watching.